Good morning and welcome to Super Bowl post SimWorld today. It is a beautiful day in Philadelphia if the city still stands. I am Marsh, joined by Rick Blaze. The Kansas City Chiefs bid for a three-peat goes down in crushing fashion. Rick, good morning. How are you, and what are your takeaways from maybe the most stunning Super Bowl defeat that we've seen in some
Hey, I'm
time?
good. I like to see some pictures of the streets of Philadelphia. I don't know if it looks quite apocalyptic right now. I'm sure it may. They're greasing up the poles right now as we speak to keep those guys from climbing on top of them. But fantastic game. If you're the Philadelphia Eagles, they came out and did that. They did way better than anybody expected. If you was to tell me coming to the game that they would have no run in the game from Saquon Barkley, then I would have told you they would have lost by at least 20 points. That's not the case. Everything that was supposed to happen did not happen. They didn't have a running game, no problem. And Jalen Hurts put himself in a position now as the quarterback in that next tier. I'm not saying he's Lamar Jackson or Josh Allen, but he's that tier right below those guys because he's proven not only am I a game manager, which is what which is what they called him. I can go out and win the game for my team, which is what he did. Shout out also to the Philadelphia Eagles defense. I knew they were good. I didn't know they were this good. I think they played the game of their lives on the defensive side of the ball and completely shut KC down. Yeah, I mean, it was complete domination about the Eagles from the word go. They just ran them. Also, special shout out to Kendrick Lamar, who gave a fantastic halftime performance. If you didn't think it was great, it's probably because you just didn't know what was going on and it went way over your head. And that's okay too.
Probably because you're Drake. This was, and look. I don't know why Jalen Hurts is not at the level of Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson. You said he's close to it. I don't see Josh Allen beating Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs just by getting 4 chances at it. I don't see Lamar Jackson beating Patrick Mahomes in the postseason. I see Jalen Hurts dominating. And we said this, right? We said the Eagles win if Saquon Barkley gets going.
Yep.
Saquon Barkley never got going. 56 yards. The only positive for Saquon Barkley was he was a factor in the passing game. He had a handful of receptions there. He had that nice one, that bobbling one that set him up for a short touchdown. Actually, might have been a field goal late in the game in the second half, but he was contributing purely just by being there, but not by what his production was. This was the greatest game that Jalen Hurts has played, and his numbers don't look incredible in the passing game, but this is what you need from Jalen Hurts. 9 yards on the ground, which was a Super Bowl record for a quarterback. This defense was smothering. The fact that they said this in the second half, the Eagles had, I think it was 5 sacks, and they never blitzed once in the first half. That is an outstanding performance. And here's the thing with the Chiefs. The Chiefs are so reliant on Patrick Mahomes, but the 2 times that they have caved in the Super Bowl, whether that's against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers or now against the Philadelphia Eagles, their offensive line has just gotten completely worked up front. It is part of their game that they tried to shore up, and for the most part this season they've done a decent job at it. But the way this team was going to win a football game was their defense, and that defense never had a chance because of the onslaught that the Eagles gave them on offense, and the Eagles defense didn't allow them to take any breaks, forcing 3 yards at one point of total offense. It was 33 yards of first half offense from a Kansas City Chiefs team. This was always going to be the danger. Right, Rick? This was going to be the danger of Kansas City. Their offense was atrocious really for much of the year by their standards, and it came back to bite them when they played a team that could keep the ball out of their hands and force 3 and out after 3 and out after 3 and out and not let them stay close.
Yeah, the Eagles on defense looked like it was 14 versus 11. It looked like they had extra men on the field for the Philadelphia Eagles. That's how swarming they were. Very few times do you see Patrick Mahomes under duress this long. Usually it's not for 4 quarters. At some point, he usually breaks out, finds a way, they get some stuff together. I was waiting. I'm not going to lie. I was waiting for the Mahomes magic in the second half. I was like, this can't continue to go this way.
Yeah.
But when it got to the second half and I didn't see the NFL camera pan to Taylor Swift not one time, not once. Did they pan to Taylor Swift? I don't know if she wasn't there.
She was on once. She got on once.
She did get on once?
Yeah,
usually
once.
Taylor Swift is on like every 6 minutes. They pan her. When they didn't pan to her religiously like they normally did, I said, oh, wait a minute. The game script didn't change. They may not have a chance this game, and they did not have a chance this game. Shout out to the Philadelphia Eagles, fly, as what they would say.
And there was nothing to cheer for. There was one point after the interception in the first half. The score was 10-0 Eagles, and Jalen Hurts throws the pick that puts the ball at the Kansas City's on like 2-yard line. And I thought that was the moment. They show the score, and it says like number of plays totally. It was like 119 total yards for the Eagles to like 13 or something like that for the Chiefs. And I was like, all right, this is where we're going to remember this stat bug, because this is where Patrick Mahomes turns it around. And he went further back because he threw shortly thereafter a pick six to Cooper DeJean Jones. Or DeJean, what am I saying, Jones? Anyway, that is the Kansas City Chiefs. You're not three-peat. It is the Philadelphia Eagles romping them through. Speaking of romping,
Brady is
how about
balling right now.
And Philadelphia is falling to the ground. Talk about maybe the biggest seat. Rick, you interrupted me. I had a great segue into our next segment, which is the further romping of the Dallas Mavericks and their decision to trade for Luka Doncic, as Anthony Davis is expected to miss multiple weeks, potentially up to a month, with a strain of his abductor. This was the full Anthony Davis experience. I talk about this on my podcast this afternoon at 4. Tune in. But Anthony Davis out after what was a very dominant first half from him in that game against Houston.
Look, man, what do you expect from Mr. Glass? This is why the Dallas faithful was out in front of the forum booing and calling for the GM's job. They were chanting to fire him because that's why you don't make a deal like this. This is crazy. This is so absurd, and you hit on the head. This is the full Anthony Davis experience all wrapped in one game. He plays fantastic, and then bam, he's down for 2 more weeks. Like, this is how he plays. This is who he is. And if you're Dallas Mavericks fans, you gotta be sick to your stomach right now. This GM job has Jerry Jones' name is written all. This is a Jerry Jones job, GM type job right here. This is terrible. The Mavericks fans are terrible. I'm not going to say they deserve better because I'm not a Dallas Maverick fan, but man, to lose your franchise guy better, to get a part-time superstar is crazy work.
Davis didn't only look great in the first half. He looked like a top 5 player in the first half.
He has that kind of
dominating. He was dominating Sengun. He was perfectly timing blocks on guys like Amen Thompson, who have been absolutely fantastic over the last month and a half of the SWBA season. Anthony Davis looked like a top 5 player in the league in that first half. And to be honest with you, at this point, I just feel bad for the guy. Because not only are you walking in, and he's admitted that, right? In his introductory press conference, he admitted that, yeah, this is a fan base that's hurting right now, and my hope is just to kind of like ease that a little bit. I'm never going to replace this guy that you loved unconditionally. I'm never going to be able to make this trade, even if the only way the Dallas Mavericks could consider them winning this trade is if they win like 3 straight championships. That's not going to happen. But that's really the only way that, like, even if they win 1 championship, I still don't think that the Mavs win this deal. And I just feel a ton of sympathy for the guy who knew what he was up against, knew what the stakes were and what the opinion around him was going to be, and all he wanted to do was change that. And for a brief glimmer of 24 minutes of basketball, it looked like, well, okay, this could be okay. It's never going to be good, but maybe the sky isn't falling. And then, nope, indeed, the sky is very much falling. And Anthony Davis out multiple weeks for a Dallas team that needs him. And Luka Doncic comes back, I believe, this week. And that means it's probably going to be an absolute bomb fest from him, as he's probably just out for absolute vengeance. And Nico Harrison, I mean, I know that his job, he got ownership approval, Rick, for this trade, but this type of immediate aftermath for Anthony Davis is not something you write in a script, and I think the ownership is probably his job is safe. Is what my point. I don't
think so.
I don't know how long that lasts. His job's safe. His job's safe because the ownership greenlit it. It's not like he went and did this thing rogue, right? Ownership greenlit this deal. and
Right.
he
That,
made
that,
his
that
bed
just
in it.
means you get to be my scapegoat, though. When I get ready to fire you, that makes me look like I've done
100%.
a good.
A hundred
You use
percent,
my
but I'm not saying he's not getting fired this offseason is my point. Like that would be a stunning reversal because now the ownership group by greenlighting it, this is your bed too. You said yes that Luka can leave town for Anthony Davis. This is also ownership's bed, so I think there's going to be a little bit of a doubling down on this as we see very often in sports from teams when they don't make the right decision, but they aren't quite ready to admit that they made the wrong decision. All right, speaking of wrong decisions, how about the latest SP Top 25, which features some movers and some shakers? No change to the top. Duke, still your number one team. Georgia Tech falls a little bit. Kentucky falls all the way to number 8. Mississippi State all the way back up to 16. They were at 25. Your takeaways is Princeton joins the top 10 for the first time since the 90s.
I
And that
think,
does not have to be your takeaway, obviously.
yeah, I think that's the first thing that comes to mind. Princeton in the top 10. I believe if you look at the SP top 25, the first thing you do see that stuck out to me was Princeton in the top 10. I'm glad to see these teams now. I believe the old geezers are finally getting it correct. They're on their meds, and I'm proud of that. It's important to take your medicine, and it got them think with a clear head and clear conscience. Because I can no longer verify moving forward teams that are 2 games above 500 being anywhere in the top 25, and I'm glad that I don't see that on this list. Minnesota snuck in at number 25, 85. I'm not mad at that as well. The big jump,
That third win, Rick.
yeah, like I can't quantify. I can't quantify at this time of the season. You've been 2 games above 500, saying I'm a top 25, especially because there's so many teams that are better than 2 games above 500. So I'm just glad I don't see the pettiness of a team 2 games above 500 talking about, oh, we're top 25 team, because by standing, that's not true. There's better teams with better records than that.
I think we're getting the referendum on North Carolina. And I think I talked about this 2 weeks ago that North Carolina, when they were number 10, it felt like they were top 10 because of their brand, right? They were the lowest winning percentage of any team in the top 20. Speaking of teams with not a lot of wins above 500, they're currently 10-7. They lost last week. They're 2-3 in their last 5. They have not been a dominant basketball team, but they get that early benefit of, and here's the thing, to your point about the SP kind of figuring things out, Mississippi State, who I talk a little bit more about this afternoon, they're 14-5. There was no world in which they should have been the 25th ranked team in the country because they lost twice in a row. Kentucky just lost twice in a row. They didn't even leave the top 10. And I think North Carolina and Kentucky, well, North Carolina specifically, was just a beneficiary of their brand, right? Well, we expect North Carolina to be good, and they were in the top 10 for far too long, and now they sit at number 20, and they just haven't really been a great team in the ACC so far. There's been better basketball teams ahead of them. They're like the 4th-ranked highest ACC team in the top 10. They are 0-1 in conference play. They have not impressed when they've had to go up against good basketball teams. I think we're getting a referendum on them and a referendum on the Louisville Cardinals, who are now at 11-7, number 19. They have 2 massive wins, both over Louisville and Georgia Tech. And if you're Virginia Tech, you're Duke, you're staring down, oh, we got to go up against Louisville. They've got a chance to make one heck of a statement if they can string together a handful of top 5 wins at the time, because they've looked really good.
Yep, and I've said this before about Louisville. They will lose to the Harlem Boys Choir and then come out and they will lose to them by 10 and come out and beat Kentucky by 20. That's just how the Louisville, they seem to get up only for big games. They're big game hunting. Luckily for them, they're coming around this time of year where it's conference play and Hoopsteria, where all these games are big games. So that makes Louisville a scary team, because if the A1 version of Louisville comes out to play, they can compete with the best of them.
Compete with the best of them. How about we get to our top 10 plays of the week? We had a little bit of SimWorld U action, a little bit of prep action. But let's roll the tape for the top 10 plays, and we're going to start this whole thing in Villanova, where Aaron Lovejoy gets stuff rolling, not only for the top 10, but also for the number 3 ranked Villanova Wildcats. Aaron Lovejoy in a home matchup trying to get things done, goes inside, game winner, keeps the winning streak alive for the Wildcats.
That dude should never been on him. At number 9, let's get some prep basketball action. My man Willwich Cross. You're gonna see him not pictured now. Watch how the play develops. Here's a shot goes. I don't see him. There he goes. He's just hanging around the rim. Don't mind him.
Cross seems to be the only prep guy that seems to find his way into the top 10. How about Jace McGez, Oklahoma? At home for the Sooners, trying to get things rolling. A little step back banger for the Oklahoma Sooners at number 8.
At number 7, we go to Washington. We got Jason Tada, who calls game time blouses. Big shot in Washington.
Phoenix Wyatt says if things aren't quite working the way we want to, maybe we need something else to happen. Here's Texas against Oklahoma State. No one boxes out Wyatt. Follow through slam for the Longhorns.
We're going to go to Tennessee here. We're in Tennessee. We got Quincy Henderson from Alabama. He's going to drive baseline. The back door is open with the 180.
I appreciate that your accent lasted for all of 2 sentences. Creighton's Quan Singleton says, I can rise like a Blue Jay. I slam like a bee, as the Creighton Blue Jays at home getting up for Quan Singleton.
At number 3 in Arizona, my man Lopez Hilton. Come here! Snatched him. Finish him. Quish. That's nasty.
Oregon's Tim Brown. We get 2 looks at number 2. The Ducks high-flying freshman first from the corner, alley-oop to get to Timothy Brown, and then he says, I don't need anybody's help this time around. Takes it himself with the spin and the slam over Corey Yams.
And number 1 in the hood, G, we got to go to Memphis with Ladarius Allah LDO. Funny shaped head, but very serious game. Watch this. Behind the back, slow-mo. That was sweet. By LDO, funny head, serious game.
That is our top 10 plays. We're coming back to SimWorld Hoops this week. We got a full slate of local broadcasts to start our week off, and then we return on Tuesday with a CBS matchup, our game of the week, Villanova and Butler. Justin Bell taking the number 3 ranked Wildcats on the road to face off against Sean Chapman Daly and the Butler Bulldogs. A massive matchup in the Big East. Chance for first place in the conference on the line. 3-0 Villanova, 2-1 Butler. They're trying to get some separation from St. John's, UConn, and Creighton. That's Tuesday on CBS. All right, that's our show. We're coming back tomorrow. We've got some more hoops to talk about. The SWFL season is into the off season, so we can look past that and into the stretch run of the SWBA and SimWorld U. Rick, as always, appreciate you coming on. We'll talk to you tomorrow morning. Thank you all for tuning in here on SimWorld TV, the only place you could see the game, be the game.
A minor.
This has been a presentation of SimWorld